Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are streaming live. We are here together. Happy Friday. It's so good to see you. Some familiar faces, some new faces. It is so awesome to have you here. Welcome to Projector. I have so many new things going on. I have to learn the names. Weekly Projector Energy Study number 3. It's so good to have you here, and I'm excited to talk to you about a few more concepts. I am happy that there are so many people live here, and if you're watching this on YouTube and you want to join us live on the call, because I really love when you guys are interactive with me, it really helps me bring out the highest levels of teachings as we are, one unit here on the call and then one unit in the universe as well. So I really welcome your comments, your questions in the chat. Sometimes I will ask one of you to workshop something if it feels like a good thing to unmute you and have you speak. It's a good practice for all of us projectors in being seen and shining our soul into the world, because ultimately we are here for two things as a human. We are here to shine our light, and we are here to become closer to the light. So that being said, if you could have your cameras on too, that's really beautiful and helpful for me, because then I can energetically also see how everything's landing. So it's also a beautiful exercise in being present, and sharing yourself even via facial expressions. sharing. Okay, so let me just see that all the tech is in check. I think everything's working well. There are people watching live on YouTube, so welcome. That's amazing. Where did my screen go? Okay, here we are. So today, I wanted to talk to you about a couple of concepts, projector energy related, and also energy related in the cosmos. As you might know, I follow Kabbalah principles and Kabbalah windows in time. Sometimes they might be, I was going to say mistaken, but interpreted as Judaic holidays, but which they also are, but they also are just windows in time where certain energies are available. And just yesterday was Yom Kippur, which is the highest day in the year, is where we are closest to the light. And it's often, and before that, a few days before that, was Rosh Hashanah, which was the birthday of our souls, basically, first and second day of Libra. And so all these high holidays, I have like really high hopes for them, right? And I'm like, ooh, we're going to be all in the light, because I'm such a fan of being in the light and whatever. And then both times, but yesterday was actually the biggest. There was the break in the ceremonies. I streamed it online and did the prayers and ceremonies as I was watching. And as much because I had my kids and I had just everyday responsibilities. So I wasn't at the Kabbalah Center or anything, just doing it. I was in the library with my toddler and with my AirPods in, like listening to Aramaic chants. And then in the afternoon, there was like a 2 hour break from the ceremonies or from the prayers and the proceedings. And I was like, whew, okay, let's get some stuff done. And of course, the universe thought it was a great idea on that high holiday to have me finally meet the woman that my ex cheated on me with. Like, I did not think that was on the cards yesterday, and it hit me in my heart so heavily. And the biggest thing about those holidays is that you maintain the highest consciousness that you can possible, which is certainty that this comes from the Creator and this is a gift and a blessing. And I was like, but it hurts so bad. And so I thought about it, and I started thinking to it from all about it from all angles, my old patterns, my new patterns, how I want to think about it. I was like, and when I met her, we actually had a brief interaction, and I saw so much respect and like sorry in her eyes toward me, and it was such a beautiful moment, and it was such confusing realizations, and I get emotional now because I feel like we could be friends, and I was like, oh, this is all so confusing, and part of me still felt like somebody took something from me, and this woman, well, not her alone, we we all three were involved in breaking up that relationship, of course, but the victim part of me is like, this woman broke up my family, and when I thought about it more, of course, I offered my prayers to it yesterday because we were so close to the creator yesterday. It's like, the creator has truly got my back. I'm so blessed. Like, of all the days that this could have happened, and this woman has been on and off the scene for probably 5 years. So, of all the days that I could have met her, it was Yom Kippur in the afternoon when there was a break in prayer ceremony. So I could take it back to the last part of the evening ceremonies to be like lifted off of me. Because what I really found, there were two things that this woman represents. And we'll get into the concepts, but I hope this is helpful for you too, because everyone deals with fears and betrayals at some point. And it wasn't at all about her that hurt me so much, or about my ex and the whole thing. I've done a year and a half worth of therapy. I thought I was over it. But you know what it revealed was something very, very different. And it was all about me. And this is wherever they also say, the sages say in Kabbalah, that whenever a trigger or pain or fear or lack or doubt comes up, it's not about the other person. The other person is a messenger. It's always just between you and the light of the creator. And I took it to the creator and said, what am I not seeing? What am I not seeing that I have to be ready to release? And there are two things that I found is, one, it's this old fear of mine that somebody's going to take someone from me, probably daddy issue related from my past, and that everyone's gonna end up with someone to be loved except me. Like, I'm nobody's special person, I'm nobody's number one, I'm nobody's soulmate. And that I saw my mom get old by herself after my stepdad died, and be lonely. And I don't want that, obviously. Most people don't want to be lonely, right? But everyone's going to end up with someone who loves them except me. Of course, my kids love me, and my best friend loves me, and there's many people I think who love me, but that like deep feeling of having that person who's like your person to do the work with and to grow old with. So that was number one. And the other thing that I found is like, what I asked, like, what am I judging her for? Like, what are the things that I like from my reactive ego that I suppressed harshly? Like, what are the things that I would like to yell out to her still, after 1.5 years after breakup? And it's like, how do you feel? Like, do you feel still like, or what was it that I wanted to yell out to her? It's like, have you gotten over like feeling guilty for breaking up a family? Because I know from like mutual connections that she felt really bad about it after the fact that our family broke up. And I was like, okay, so I want to judge her for breaking up a family. Like, let me reverse that and look like, where am I judging myself for breaking up the family? And I have three children with two different fathers. So my marriage, I broke up because I met my second partner. So I found that I was still feeling guilty for breaking up my own family. And then I broke up my family for the second time, but that was because of the betrayal, and I needed to make that step to be honest with myself and honoring myself and my value, and not continue something that was in such a dysfunctional state, of course. But um, those were the two things I found. They were a fear that was me related, and they were a judgment that was me related. So the creator was incredibly gracious to hand me that encounter yesterday, so that on that highest day of Yom Kippur, where we literally cement in what our next year looks like, I got to let go of these two. I let go of the fear of not being lovable or not finding anyone who loves me, like my special person. And I could send compassion and release that guilt that I was still feeling about breaking up my own family. So I don't need to judge anyone else externally for it anymore. And it was such a humbling moment. My ego literally died many deaths yesterday, and it was not comfortable, but I knew that it was going to be a gift. So this is an incredibly powerful window in time, and I hope that we can all, like, when we are judging someone else, or when we are, I was like asking myself, what is this woman such a threat? Like, what threat is she like standing for in my life? And when I thought, it was like, there's no threat, like, really, like, I saw her in person now for the first time. She looks nothing like she looks online. So I was like, oh, without makeup, this whole thing is like all very different, you know? And so there was no threat. And I found that guilt. And I want to invite us all to be honest with ourselves when we are judging other people, and we are feeling that something is a threat, that we are really asking us these questions. What am I really afraid of? And how can I let go of that fear? And what am I judging the other person for that I might be judging myself for? And how can I let that go? I find self-compassion is always a very beautiful neutralizer. So that's the thing to start, that I wanted to start our chat with. It's always good to be vulnerable and get vulnerable, so that you guys can give yourselves the permission to come with an open heart to whatever situation you can come to as well. So if you guys have any comments around this, I will read them in the chat, and make them part of this transmission. And otherwise, I will jump into what I have ready to share for us today. Let me just look at my notes and see where to start. Oh, I'm getting a good job. Thank you for sharing your story. It was beautiful. Thank you, Noor. Thank you, Colleen. Thank you, Paula. So all of our journeys, and especially if you're here as a projector, you know, you are here to share your wisdom. And this is basically what I just did. I shared my story and I shared what I learned from it. And as a projector, this is what gives you incredible visibility on a soul basis, because you're allowing people to see straight into your soul, because wisdom comes from soul. And when people can recognize and see you for your soul, and they can acknowledge, yes, this is a human on another human journey, and they are figuring things out just as I am, and they are they have gone through some things that I might need help with, whether that's professionally or friendship wise or anywhere. Sharing, and I learned that with my, because so many projectors are like, what does it actually mean to guide? I find an incredible way to guide, A, of course, is through questions, but B, because I have a teenage daughter, she just turned 15, and since she was a tiny little baby, you could never force her for anything. So if I tell her to do something, that's not going to land. The softest way into her being for me as a mother is when I share. Either I ask her, would you like, when she comes to me with something, and I'm incredibly blessed, she comes to me with things all the time now, after not speaking to me for an entire year when she was 12, but we resolved that. But she comes to me, or she presents me with something, or she just tells me something. I was like, oh, would you like to hear how I solved that when I was your age? You know, of course, life is very different for them now, but still, it could be, when it's real wisdom, it's timeless, right? And so when I share my stories with her, especially my stories of becoming and empowerment, and how I went from feeling really victimy or sad about something to feeling really strong about something, then she'll always come back. She'll either just do it and try it out. She's like, that's a great way of trying, like thinking about it, trying it out. Or she comes back and says, I thought about what you told me the other day, and it was incredibly helpful, and I think I'm going to do it, you know? And so I think that as a projector is a big way to guide is to share your stories of what you've learned and share the stories once you have the wisdom extracted, right? Because otherwise you're still sharing from a place of woundedness, which then you can call in compassion and support, you know, prayers and all this stuff. But guidance is, and literally this is the reason why the creator sends us triggers and pains and challenging situations, humans or situations, is because it's the thing, you know, remembering that it's just between you and the creator when you get challenged. And then the thing is, there's always a lesson there. That's why I knew that meeting yesterday this woman, there was a lesson there for me. And I extracted, the faster we can become at extracting the lessons from challenges, and this is literally my work with projectors, is, you know, where I teach a lot of things, but a lot of it is, hey, let's get through these challenges faster, because A, I don't want you to stay in pain and suffering, and B, you become more magnetic. The more wisdom you accumulate, because it's kind of like wisdom accumulates in the heart. It doesn't feel good to hold bitterness. It doesn't feel good to have resentment. All of these, and your heart, the Heart Math Institute does this scientifically, and human design talks about it in a human design kind of way. Your G center is your magnetism pole. So wisdom sits in the heart, and the more wisdom you have, the more magnetic you become as a projector. It's not about, am I messaging correctly? You know, this is cosmic magnetism. And just an example for this is, was it also yesterday or the day before? And I've been doing deep, deep work the last month and a half, very, very intentionally. And I had a very high level client a couple years ago, who was paying me really good money every month just to coach him. He wasn't even a projector. He hopped back into he found the old calendar link and scheduled a session with me yesterday or the day before. I was like, I didn't even like pursue anyone. I just became more magnetic. The more wisdom you accumulate by getting through your challenges faster and extracting the wisdom from it. And this is where, you know, the inner opponent keeps us so blind, right? It keeps us in that wounded state of like, I'm not going to let you understand what the lesson here is so that you can really have to dig for it. That is the work. And the more wisdom we extract from our own lives, I always thought my business is my big challenge, you know, oh, and how I'm going to figure out how to sell and market and message and blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, it's not that. It's doing the inner work. And then your business just like, oh, of course, you know, I'm just going to put this, and then it feels as natural as brushing my teeth, as natural as it might feel to a generator. But it lies in overcoming my own challenges in all other areas of life. It's not even just my business area of life. I've probably spent 50,000 more on courses and coaches than I actually, for my business specifically, than I actually needed. Because, you know, what I really needed was just to raise my magnetism. So I'm curious to hear how this is landing with you guys in the chat. Beautiful that you could process it very quickly. Yes, and that is also so cool when we can use these windows in time energetically that are available, then we can ask for help, because especially as a projector, we have, like, one of the first things we have to surrender and realize is that we can't do it alone. And then traditional, more narrow-minded human design teachings, which I don't subscribe to. If you if you know me a little bit, I like more my own like my own broader lens on this. But it's like, oh, as projectors, we need other people to manifest or to create or to do anything. No, 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 no. We need the creator. We're a creator and we need the creator. So the sooner we co-create or we end up communicating with the creator with our part of the part of us that is creator is our soul. And this comes now to the first one of the first concepts that I want to talk to you about is how we communicate with soul as a projector, because then we're becoming the creator of our highest destiny. And it's not by, oh, I need to find a person or I can't do it myself. Of course, when my ex-husband, who's a manager, and I had our startup together, it worked out exactly that way. That I was mostly guiding and he was mostly coding. And it was like a 7-figure startup and it went really well. And it ended up being that way. But that was just the 3D expression of it. Who we really need is the creator for our undefined sacral and have a really tight connection. And so that connection, that our phone line with the creator is our soul. And so how does our soul talk to us? Because I've talked about this before, most people are like, I can't hear the creator. I don't know what my soul is saying. I think, like, oh, and then when logic, if anything you're explaining logically, you already know it's your mind. It's not your soul, because your soul is not going to guide you logically. And that's why I think it's a lot harder for men sometimes to follow that force, because men are even more guided by logic than women who are very strategically brained. But miracles aren't coming from logic, and soul guidance isn't logic. So let me just see in the chat real quick what you are saying, and then I'm going to dive deeper into it. Paula says, I find it very hard asking for help. I'm not sure how to actually do it. Beautiful. Okay, thank you for that. Then maybe we can touch on that. Colleen says, so good. It's so lovely to hear another projector share, process, and guide with her wisdom. It's like permission and a reminder. Yes. Giving yourself permission. I'm here to give you all permission. You got all the permissions. Go ahead. Laws and rules are for those, who need them, not us. I mean, you can follow them if you. Caitlin says, I struggle a little hearing it too. Taruna says, long-winded question, but your website was the first time I discovered True Sky. And that system has really resonated with me. How do you like to use tropical versus True Sky? Do you lean into using one system over the other with specific type of clients? Okay, let me put this toward the end of the session a little bit more, because it's not in the concept at the moment, but I do want to answer it. Hara says, I believed I needed other people to help me move the needle forward for many years, but I felt that kept me so stuck, disempowered, and in the victim until I just decided to say, F it, trust in myself and go for it. Exactly. And A, how does that feel? And B, what kind of results are you getting since you're doing that? Even little results, those are all things to notice. Okay, so thanks for sharing this. And my intention is to answer your questions as I continue speaking. So if they get answered, let me know. And if they don't get answered, then we'll answer them specifically. Not there yet on trusting me, though. Okay. Let's start with that, because trusting you is a very good point. And where do I go with this? There's a side road that my brain wants to go, but I'm not sure. Okay, When I went to therapy weekly to process my breakup and other things, my therapist often said, "Well done, look at you, you did this." And every time she said that, because I study Kabbalah, I made a point to say, "Thank you, but I didn't do this. I did it with the creator. I could only do it because I had the creator." And she, first of all, she was a little bit, she wanted to empower me as a person. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to take away power from my ego because I didn't want patting on the back for being like, "Oh, good job, Alex." Of course I did all these things, but what I really did is I asked the creator for help with it, and then it happened. So I wanted to redirect all the praise back to the creator so that my ego doesn't keep growing. And so trusting you is one thing, but what really lies behind trusting you, and what I've noticed, and what my recent the last 2 years have been incredibly hard in my life, but also incredibly empowering. But even the last couple months, like it's been so difficult. And what I've had to learn is not to trust me, but to trust the creator, to trust the universe. Like to actually, as a projector, this is so important. Sometimes we keep doing and doing and doing, and we don't leave any space for the creator to create miracles. Asking humans for help is one thing, and there's time and place where we can do that. But I was in a place where I was asking for support in to several people in my life, and everywhere came back as a no. And I'm like, what is this? What is this? Not taking it personally, but taking it as a lesson. And ultimately, it was like, I have to stop asking people for help. The creator just wants I need, and I have a Kabbalah teacher, and he also said something like along those lines. It's like, and I realized I don't, I like, he said, ask the creator to bail you out of this situation. Just ask the creator to bail you out. It's like, creator, I find myself in this situation, which I can't get out by myself. Can you please bail me out? Can you show me what I don't see? Can you show me the way out? Where do you want this and that to come from? Just show me. And when we keep doing and doing and doing and trying to control things and trying to manipulate situations or wanting people to change, we are literally not giving the creator a space to infuse a miracle or to bring in and the bailout, And then when I was like, F it, fork it. I'm just gonna create what do you want me to do? And that is the true trust. Like whenever we're not trusting ourselves, we're basically, it's more of a reflection of we don't trust life. The unknown is such an uncomfortable place to trust, but ultimately that's the place we need to trust. And every spiritual teacher will tell you this, right? Or every old tradition, or Gabby Bernstein, or Matt Kahn, or David Guillaume, whoever you listen to, it's always that wisdom of you have to trust the creator. And with an undefined sacral, as a projector, there's literally no other way, because otherwise when we're using our life force, workforce energy with our mind, with our shoulds, with our conditioning, with our ego, we're always getting ourselves more into the reds. You might find that you've had times in life where you're listening to soul and you're doing things in flow and you're listening to your authority without maybe, or in retrospect, realizing, oh, I did that with authority, or you end up doing things where like, oh, this gives me energy. It's because it gives you energy because when you're doing things with your undefined sacral from your soul, where you're following your soul's guidance, it's not depleting, it's life-giving. You're like buzzed up, and then you have to just have your body be in a state where you can handle that much high energy, right? That's where my growth is right now. It's like, ooh, sometimes, I need to take a minute and let my nervous system adjust to all of this energy that's coming through and coming in so that two things like drawing energy and light, bringing things into your life out of the unseen realm, and then having and growing your vessel to be able to hold it. Okay, let me see what you guys are saying. Anyora says, I'm so grateful for God's guidance, but I struggle to surrender my logical mind. Yes, every human's challenges. We're all eventually, when it comes to the problems we have as humans and as projectors, they're always coming down to the same thing, right? Paula says, well, of course, that is the way to start asking for help. Thank you. I have to go, but I will watch the replay. Okay, there you go. Katrina says, thank you for that reminder. Let the creator on board instead of trying to control the situation with mind ego. Noor says, pardon if this is a basic question, but that what is meant by undefined sacral, which often you say, oh, this is our, like when you look at the human design chart and the sacral center at the bottom, whether or not you're a generator type, only generator types have a defined sacral. So reflectors, projectors, and manifestors have an undefined sacral. That means we literally have to channel life force energy from the creator to have this life-giving aspect. Generator types have a defined bucket of life force energy, workforce energy every day to use at their own discretion. Of course, in the long term, they also want to make sure that it's aligned with their soul, but they have a lot more energy just by themselves without like consciously thinking about soul channeling. If that hope that answered it. Caitlin says, I think it's the opposite too, and turning a new leaf even after. I felt this yesterday. Okay. The opposite of what? I don't know exactly what this was referring to. So, two of the things that I wanted to talk to you today about and that we've been leading into with all of this, and hopefully this now will land deeper as we've got the little prologue, is there are two ways of bringing things into, oh, the buzz. Yeah, the high. Okay, wait a second. Turning a new leaf with lows too. Yes, and we need to be able to hold the lows as well, right? Because when we're in the lows, when we're in the pain, we are drawing energy. But we are seeing, oh, I have anxiety. Oh, I feel pain. We need to rephrase this. The anxiety is actually the creator's love coming in. That's light coming in into our heart. The pain is an activation, is an opening of light coming in. So when we can rephrase these things, it's much easier to move through these and then extract the wisdom. So there are two ways of creating or bringing things into your life. Hopefully the things that you want or that your soul wants. Your soul always knows better for you, by the way, too, than what your ego wants. And by the way, if you're feeling desperate about something, that's usually your ego. Soul desires feel very calm, heart-centered, and loving. There's no competition around soul desires. So one way, and we just talked about it, is manifestation. And manifestation is the drawing in of new light. When you're manifesting something, manifesting means you're drawing energy from the universe and putting it into form. That is one way of how to create things, and that you can do really, really well with your undefined sacral. You have to channel in the energy, and then you put it into form in whatever way, with words, with songs, with business offerings, with whatever it is, something where you're turning it into something tangible in the 3D. Writings, conversations, whatever it is. And then the other thing is where you're bringing things into your life is the law of attraction or law of affinity of form, where you're bringing something in your life that already exists. For example, you're looking for a soulmate. Most likely, if you're like middle-aged, you don't want to like bring a soulmate into the world by drawing. I mean, maybe my children are my soulmates too, but if you're looking for a soulmate partner, most likely that person already exists, because otherwise you'd have to wait a long time until their legal age and then you can be with them. So there, you want to be able to do both. You want to be able to manifest things that don't exist yet, and you want to be able to draw things into your life that already exist in the 3D world. So and I just listened to this concept Kabbalistically in a talk this morning. Is like, okay, there's not just one soulmate for you, right? There's a soulmate for you at every stage of your vibration. So whoever might have been your soulmate 5 years ago might not be your soulmate now that you've done so much more work, right? You are attracting, and that's why in Kabbalah they don't talk of the law of attraction, they talk about the law of affinity of form. And maybe you're familiar with the Hawkins scale of emotions, where neutrality is in the middle, and then below, like in the negative or low vibrations, you have fear, guilt, shame, anger, like all the things. And then above, you have the ones, even neutrality, I think, is above zero. So that's, or not zero, above a certain amount. So neutrality is actually a good one. But peace, love, compassion, happiness, joy, like, you can look it up, Hawkins scale of emotions. So we all, because we're human, we have a cocktail of these emotions, right? But oftentimes, like what the example I shared at the beginning of today's transmission is where I discovered yesterday that I still felt guilt for breaking up my own family. And that was in 2017. So that is a while ago. But that unknown guilt, and we don't, that's why it's subconscious, that's why it's hidden, that's why it's so good to have a therapist or a coach or a mentor or a guide to help you find these things. Where are you? Because what we really want to uncover is like, where am I unconsciously putting in a lot of ingredients into my energy cocktail from the negative emotions? And when you have a lot of unconscious fear, doubt, shame, anger. I had so many anger issues in my life. I might not look like it now, but guys, I have gone crazy for anger in my life, and it's scary. And those are things that control us without knowing it, and that control our base frequency. And so my best friend was texting me a couple of days ago. It's like, oh my God, she keeps deleting Hinge and then keeps bringing it back. No more dates, and then back on dates. I was like, how are you the last couple of days? And she's like, oh, I know that when you don't hear from me for a couple of days, that I got lost in texting with some guy again. And she's like, how is it that all of these guys um that I'm attracting are not over their ex and they're not emotionally available? And I was like, maybe look at like where you're not over your ex. And she's like, ah. So it's like that's what, of course, you guys have heard this before. We attract who we are, but who we are is the cocktail of our mix of emotions. So what we really want to make sure is that we can uncover, because otherwise, when we're pulling also from the cosmos, the manifestation part, not just the law of affinity of form and attraction part, everything that you're attracting, whether it's new energy or whether it's existing things in the world, is going to match that vibration that you carry, that base vibration. So the more we do our inner work, we are uncovering the things that are keeping us at the vibration where we're attracting things that we no longer want. And so that is the one part of it. The other part is, so there's these two things that you can listen to inside. One is, and in human design, we call it the authority, right? So as projectors, we are incredibly blessed to have 5 authorities, unlike any other type. Let's just be proud of being so special as a projector yet again. But your own way of getting your guidance from your soul and your inner opponent, which is very good at making things sound like exactly like they are from your soul, but they're not. And that is the trick. And that is where a lot of you are saying, I don't know how to listen to my soul. It's because you don't know how your authority sounds. Because, and that's not your fault, it's because your inner opponent is so sneaky and tricky and smart at sounding exactly like your authority. Very loud, very convincing, but, and these are the things that you want to look out for. Is there a fear involved? Is there logic involved? Is there doubt involved? Is there, yeah, those are basically the shame involved when you're making a decision. Your authority, and that could be emotional, that could be splenic, that could be self-projected, that could be mental, and that could be ego. Those are the 5 ones that we have as projectors. And everyone will, there's no one way to say like, this is exactly how it'll sound for you or feel for you, but everyone has to do their own work of looking back in time. Like when things worked out really well, when you felt like, oh, that was better than I could have imagined it. Those are the things that you want to look out for. Not the things where you're like, this is exactly how I wanted it to go, because that's still ego. But those times in your life where you're like, this was miraculous and it ended up better than I could have ever imagined it. How did you listen? How did you listen to that decision? And that is your authority. And when in doubt, you check with your heart, because your heart is your direct connection to soul. And this is the guidance to your highest destiny. This is the guidance that you will receive to move toward your highest expression of soul. Not like a mediocre life where you're kind of okay with it, but and nothing wrong with people wanting to live a comfortable life. That's okay for them. Everyone has to do their own thing. But I just know that a lot of projectors especially are called to live their highest destiny, because we have spent so much time in hiding. We have spent so much time not getting recognized and seen, that literally means that your soul wants you to be recognized and seen, and that it is time to make things incredibly easy for you in the external, in the 3D world. And how I explained that in the beginning and throughout this call is by gathering more wisdom and then allowing it to be seen. These are 2 ingredients and steps that you want to really follow as a projector: extracting the wisdom and sharing the wisdom. The Creator really wants us to share. So this is a question for you to see, like, where are you not sharing your wisdom? Where are you hiding what you know you should be sharing? It's much, much easier I think, to study with, for example, musicians, because then it's so clear. Their transmission is musical, and they can either share their music or they don't, right? But in other people's lives, when it's not as obvious, like, how do you share? Sharing your smile, that's sharing kindness and connection. Sharing your wisdom in a connection or on a call. How can you offer to a larger amount of people, or even to any people, your vulnerable stories, how you came across that wisdom? One of the clients who just signed up for my for my 1 month intensive that I'm still offering at an introductory rate, wink, wink, if any of you are interested, reach out. She was sharing it's actually really scary to her to grow her business with the thought of working less. I was like, that is so relatable, mostly just to projectors, right? I was like, oh, I really want that, but it feels really, really scary. And that's how she knew that it was the right thing for her to do. And it's not about working more, it's about sharing more, but from your heart and from your wisdom. So here we had a little monologue going on, a sermon, Alex sermons, as I like to call them. I'm curious to hear how that lands with you. I would love to hear in the chat so I can read it out to everyone who's watching this later. And by the way, these have been incredibly popular on YouTube. So whatever you're saying will be reaching a good audience and is a good example and a good opportunity to share your wisdom. And then I will see that we can answer a couple more questions. Let me see. Oh, let me see. There's comments on YouTube as well. Let me see those first. Lisa says, I've just become aware of the concept spiritual bypass. Is this a projector thing to not be very realistic in the world? I think everyone does spiritual bypassing, and all types do it because we're all just looking for the easy way out as opposed to the easy way through, you know? So the way through is the hard way. The spiritual bypassing is trying to use spirituality to get around the problem. So that's a very human thing, but as a projector, you have to go through, or else you can't extract the wisdom and be seen. I have had incredible opportunities in life that would have led to financial success, and I chose to live like a guru, always speaking of a higher truth. I don't think I'm being a guru. I'm just always being more ethereal than practical and grounded. And this might be part of your way of sharing. It doesn't mean you have to do your sharing in a way that is prescribed by society, but your way of sharing and not making it wrong, right? And it's also the other thing to remember, guys, and everyone, I need you to remember this. Very important concept that even when you listen to your fear and even when you take an action that is misaligned, or when you do something where the creator is like, she's not listening. We need to hit her with a hammer over the head. I'm sorry, Alex, here comes the hammer. Even when we are taking a path off route, the creator immediately recalculates so that you can still go to your highest destiny in the shortest amount of time possible. So the inner opponent is the one that wants to keep you in your misery and say, "Ah, Alex, you messed up. Come on, let's just feel guilty and ashamed about it for a year and a half or longer and lower your base vibration and keep you trapped down there, keep you like subconsciously feeling like something's quite not vibrant and quite not alive, and you don't quite know what it is, but we're just going to keep you down here. We're just going to keep you feeling bad. The creator is an immediate forgiving force. It's not a punishing force. Our inner opponent inside is the sneaky one. It's like, ah, we should really feel bad about this for 5 decades. And that is where we're being kept small. So the creator wants you to feel good about you at all times. It wants you to feel good about your personal way. It gave you your gifts exactly like you have them to be shared exactly like who here knows that Ariana Grande can be incredibly triggering to people. Like she has this tiny little voice, but also this really big voice when she sings, and she's a little cutesy, but then she's also very sexy, so she can be really triggering to a lot of people, just as an example. But it is her unique expression, and she's incredibly successful, and she also goes through her own big challenges, like this Taylor Swift. She even made a movie about it. Michael Jackson shared his biggest gifts, so big in the world, and went through his own deep darkness and shadow expression of his life. And they made a movie or two about it too. So it's like, but the creator is immediately forgiving. And what you will be judged at for your life at the end of your life when you are facing the creator is, did you reach and share the people? Did you reach your potential? Did you reach your highest soul's expression in this lifetime and share with the people that you are meant to share with? Did you write the books that you're meant to write? Did you help the people that you're meant to help? Um, did you publish your music? Did you create the movies? Did you did you grow your coaching business, or did you let your fear keep you small? Whatever it is. So the creator is always rerouting you in every moment after every mistake. Oh, and you have to tune into that frequency of the creator when you make a mistake, not to go into guilt, fame, fear, and shame, but to go into, oh, I messed up. Okay, creator, tune me in. Immediate forgiveness. Okay, we're back on route. That's how fast it has to become. All right. Now I'm going to see what you guys are saying here in the other chat. So I did the you. Oh. Lisa says, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Makes sense. I'm glad I found you, Alex. For sure, Hawkins checkings upcoming. Okay, perfect. And then here in our Zoom chat. Okay, let me see which ones are related to the subject, and then I will see that I answer the ones that are outside the subject. Question. Noor says, I struggle with a similar thing as you named, which is trusting I can contain and hold all the good stuff, the buzzing. I notice I can sabotage or undermine it when that happens, even though consciously I don't want to. How are you building your capacity to allow your nervous system to contain the high vibes and all the blessings and letting it flow without interference? That's a very good question. And immediately the answer popped through is what you have to ask yourself is, which part of it does not feel safe? You have to find the part that when that big light comes in, when that success comes in, it doesn't feel safe. And that's the piece that you need to look at and heal. Christina says, a reality many run up against is that we need basic material needs met to survive, and the current Maya society structure withholds these necessities from so many people unless they work themselves nonstop near to death. I do not blame people for not being able to figure out how to obtain basic necessities or being able to connect to a different energy when they have been lifelong programmed. Any thoughts about this? Yes, this is very deep and beautiful, and exactly the story that we're rewriting right now. And especially as projectors, we cannot gain success in these societal generator over hustling type of ways. This is why, and Karen Curry Parker wrote a book about the chart shift. It's called The Quantum Human. I just got it on audiobook. I read it before. I want to listen to it again now. But especially as projectors, this is we guide by example of like, guys, this is not how we're meant to keep going. Hustling, fear. A lot of people are in, how do you call it? A lot of people are workaholics because it's an escape mechanism from feeling their feelings, especially, and I'm not beating on you guys, but especially men, because men are also driven by this innate need to be a provider. So everyone dives into the shadow expression of something good to avoid feelings. And that's why, the spiritual bypassing is trying to get around something that we need to get through. The ancient Native Americans always see the buffalo as the wisest animal, because when there's a big storm coming up, they don't run away from the storm. They don't try to go around the storm. They know the quickest way to the other side of the storm is through the middle. And that's exactly what happened to me yesterday, when I ran into that woman. I was like, my heart was so pierced and in pain, like in the situation when I actually found out about the betrayal. And it was the direct way through to the other side. And all of us, when we rename that pain from something bad into something good, this is my soul activation. This is my light activation, right? This is what we are here to guide as projectors. We are the 20% of the population that are now going to do things very differently. And this is also why I'm stepping into my bigger expression now, and why I didn't decide this. It got delivered to me, right? Manifestation. It dropped in when I was in a receptive state. The Projector Manifestation Collective, my membership. Here's another plug. If you want to be a founding member, I'll have the founding member rate up for a little bit longer. And even without founding member, it's incredibly affordable, because I want to bring this, and why I do these Friday transmissions now, because we projectors, we need to gather and rise, because we are leading this 2027 chart shift, which is already, and Jenna Zoe talks about this a lot too. I highly recommend her podcast. She talks about this a lot, about this shift in 2027 is already way underway. It's not a thing where on a certain date something happens, but this is why so many projectors now are in such a deep hole, because you are meant to climb out of that hole and lead a revolution, guys. This is the thoughts I have about this, Christina. How does that resonate? I hope this is feeling deep in your soul. Sydney says, just want to say hi. Good to finally be in your atmosphere. Oh, I'm close to booking the intensive. Oh, yay. Well, if anyone's interested, I have a few more spots for October for 1 month intensive, and I'm really dedicated to helping you rise and get your power machines, your turbines going, so that you can power forward. Caitlin says, this is wonderful. I just started noticing stories so I can I don't know, I hope I read this right. So I can start extracting and processing. Yes, perfect, exactly. My memory isn't great lately, so I think this will help. And confirms it. Yeah, sometimes it's good when our brains don't play along, because sometimes we need less. This is what my friend Annalena always says. Annalena Fuchs, she's also a gifted human design teacher and astrologer now too. And Karen Curry Parker says it too. Human design is meant to get us out of our minds and into our bodies. But the confusing thing is that fear also talks through the body, nervous system activation, contraction, right? We just have to learn how to use our body as a compass and not believe everything it says. But it's like the Bible. That's why Kabbalah, it translates the Bible. The stories in the Bible are never literal. They're always a practical application and wisdom for your life right now. And that's what your stories and your beliefs, when they're not feeling good, when they're not feeling expansive, they're meant to be alchemized, but they're all material. They're all material. They're all blessings. Aniora says, that's the God I believe in. Noor says, thanks. Could you share your resources about Kabbalah or the name of your Kabbalah guide, please? I just go to the Kabbalah.com, the Kabbalah Center. They have Kabbalah centers all over the world, and they have hundreds of hours of resources online for very affordable price. They run live things, they have recorded things, David Guillaume is also one of my favorite. He used to be at the Kabbalah Center for many, many years. He has more now taken his own approach. Just I think he wants to make it more digestible and approachable. So Kabbalah.com or David Guillaume. I'm sure if you're here with me, you've heard about David Guillaume because I share about him regularly. So guilty of workaholism. I'm a generator in True Sky and I'm able to work really hard at times, but I resonate more with a projector. Yes. Okay. This is a beautiful leeway into the question that Toruno, I hope I'm saying your name right, asked earlier. True Sky, and by the way, cosmic human design is very close to True Sky. My friend Annalena has also been working with her True Sky teacher, Ethan Chimenti, masteringthezodiac.com if you want your True Sky astro chart for free. He also has some low price reports. I can put a discount link in the comments in the replay notes on YouTube if you guys want. And she's been working with a chart software company to hopefully bring the exact calculations of True Sky into human design. With that collaboration, I have to check in with her where the status is now, because it's like every project, it takes a while. But cosmichumandesign.com gets close. Sometimes there's still little aspects that could change. So how do I see True Sky versus traditional or Western or normal human design? Or also same with astrology. And I've been digging in this subject a couple years now, and in my True Sky, there were some other calculations then that put me at being a 5-1 reflector. And first of all, I was like, oh, this really fits. But then I was like, things like didn't start happening when I tried out my reflector chart, and then they came back with the refined calculations, and now I'm back to being a 4-6 mental projector. And some of the gates were the same, so those all check out, but just how I use my authority. It comes to how you use your authority. It doesn't as much matter the type. I mean, yes, it does. Otherwise, I wouldn't be dedicating my life's work to projectors, but it's more about how do you use your authority and what gates and gene keys are activated through each calculation. I switched from being a Gemini to being a Taurus sun. Both I really resonate with. But for me personally, my True Sky calculation is, oh my gosh, how can somebody know this about me? Like, it feels so deeply true on such a cellular level. And it explains things about me and my character in a way that are unapologetical and beautiful. It helps me understand truly who I am on a soul level. I believe the activation that we get at birth through where the stars really are in the sky, right above us, they have energy. They have so much energy. The planets, the stars. I smoked a little weed the other day, which I do about once a week to understand the cosmos deeper. I had this understanding of when planets shift signs, for example, or when things move or there are conjunctions, that there's literally a retraction of energy or an infusion of energy collectively, but also into our own lives. So where the stars really were when we were born is such a direct activation by that energy. And then Western tropical, that's the same thing, Western tropical or regular human design astrology. That is based on an old calculation from about 2000 years ago. I'm simplifying this now. There's a lot more people who can speak about this more refined. Like, for example, if you want to follow Ethan Chimenti or go to Mastering the Zodiac, there's some other people too. But he's a great one to start with. When Western astrology was, and that's the calculation that regular human design is based upon, Western astrology is when our society was formed. And so if we want to understand how to best operate in society in our current model, then we look at our regular human design. And for me, it's a big sign and a big blessing that I'm a projector in both, because that just helps me understand the projector archetype on an even deeper level and helps me be more helpful to you guys. But I like to see it in a way of when people change types. Like a lot of my friends are now projector manifestors, or a lot of my clients are projector generators, or whatever that means, right? But I wouldn't put too much attention to the type, more to like the in astrology, I think it'll be also really helpful to see like the signs, but also the gates and the gene keys that get really activated. I'm a I'm a 19, highly sensitive in my radiance, so in my unconscious sun in true sky. And I was like, as soon as I realized that, it activated, like it was like Richard Rudd always talks about, like a genetic it was a genetic activation. All of a sudden, like something activated inside of me is like, of course I can feel what everyone needs, you know? And so I hope this answers your question, Toruno, or at least opens things up for you to explore more on a like a on a soul level. I actually upgraded my genetic matrix because they support the human design true sidereal charts. Okay, so Dan, message me on Instagram. I want to send you something that my friend Annalena created, and anyone else who watches this. My friend Annalena created a video of how you can actually get to the real, because genetic matrix is not quite on board with the right calculations, but this is a video of how you can do it in genetic matrix. So if you want, I'll just send you that. So just message me on Instagram, because that's kind of my to-do list. Aniora says, I find it crazy that the gene keys transits, even though they are tropical, resonate so strongly with me. And yes, they do. Like tropical transits have an effect on the collective consciousness, because that's the calculation that our society was born into, and we are part of this society. So Western astrology absolutely has a place in everyone's life and the collective life if we accept it, because it's very apparent. But also the true sky is also happening. So emotional generator, what the heck? Well, take that. If you want, Caitlin, also message me and I'll send you that video from Annalena so you can calculate it. So let me check one last time. Oh my gosh. Wisdom to become, you checking the YouTube chat. Wisdom to become more magnetic. SVJ811. Yes, I shared very deeply about this earlier on this transmission. So you might want to go back and watch it from the beginning. It has to do with the G center. That's your magnetism pole. Do these transmissions, please repeat name of Quantum Human book. That's just what it's called, The Quantum Human by Karen Curry Parker. Tell us more about your membership. Lisa, I'll link it in the YouTube show notes. I have it also in the other weekly Projector Energy Studies, number 1 and number 2. So if you don't want to wait, just go in there and click the links. Jay is joining from India, and hi Jay, and we're about to close it down now. I hope this was enlightening, insightful, and helpful for you, clarifying. I would love to hear your biggest takeaways in the YouTube comments. And I love that you were here in person on Zoom. This made it so much more wise for all of us with your comments, with sharing your wisdom and your questions. And I hope you guys have an amazing weekend, and I hope you'll be back here. Put these in your calendar for every Friday, 9 a.m. PST. I would love for you to be here so we can do it together. And message me privately on socials or send me an email at alex@alexandradanielli.com if you have any questions or want more deeper resources or want to inquire about my one-on-one specials or book a reading with me. A reading can be chart reading, but it could also be a purpose reading or a genius reading or a combination. We can make it whatever you need it to be. So I hope this was helpful to you. I love you guys. Thanks for being here, and I will see you